we are Team Colombian, and I had the opportunity to interview Isabella, and she's from Bogota, Colombia. And she just had a lot of really amazing things to say about Colombia and just gave us a lot of really amazing information. And so from this video, I hope that you learn about the people of Colombia and just the amazing people that they are. One thing that I took away from her interview was just the family orientation that they have, and as well as just the love that they have for their nation. She just truly gave so much information about their history and their family and just what they do in their everyday life. And it just gave me such a joy to realize that she just truly loves her country a whole bunch. So I hope you guys learn a lot.
Hey, what's up guys? I'm Josh with Team Azure. We're going to talk a little bit about worldview now. So for the Colombians, a big part of their worldview is theistic, right? So they believe in a God, but a lot of Colombians actually believe in Catholicism instead of Christianity. While there is a Christian population, it is primarily Catholic. Now Colombians, instead of being individualistic like Americans, are very community oriented, and that's just how they're raised. That's their culture. But with that, it's a lot of focus on family and the importance of family and being in community with family. An interesting thing that happens is one of the values pushed in Colombia is respecting your ancestors and your descendants, and kind of just your family as a whole. With that, when your parents send you off to college, there's a lot of expectation that you find a significant others fairly quickly within that community. So that's also another value that's pushed, similar like in America as well. While Colombians are very proud of their community, they do have some self-esteem issues because things like drug issues and political issues seem to taint their personal identity and how they're viewed as a nation.
Hayden Jackson here, and I'm going to be telling you about the government, the historical heroes of Colombia, the healthcare system, and the school system that they have, as well as the famous people from Colombia. Well, the government system of Colombia is very similar to the United States. It's a democratic republic which has 3 branches based off of the United States, just how we had our system up. But what differs is they have two parties like us, but what's different is they have the Liberal Party and the Conservative Party, but they mean very different in our systems. Their Liberal Party is very similar to the United States Conservative Party's views are very same. Now, when it comes to the Conservative Party in Colombia, those have to do with preserving special roles for the Catholic Church within the society and the economy. So the Conservative Party is very focused on the Catholic Church being involved in the government. As for the historical heroes of Colombia, 2 of their biggest ones are Simon Bolivar, who was born in Venezuela, because at the time Colombia and Venezuela and Ecuador and other countries were all one mass controlled by Spain. And so Simon Bolivar was a instrumental leader in politically and militarily in the revolution to create freedom from Spain. After him, you had Francisco de Paula Santari, who was also a big political and military leader in the revolution. But after Bolivar died, he came back to Santana came back to Colombia and became the first president and founder of the Liberal Party. Now, going on to the school system, there's 2 systems: there's the public school and the private school. The public school system's okay. It's really not that great. The private school is much better, and a lot of people try to put their kids into private school if possible because it provides better education. But the public schools have a like the American system where they have the lunches and provides meals for the students. So that's a good part. And then also, just a fun fact about the public and private schools, Colombia requires all of their students to take a bilingual course in English, so they all get some English education, and they have to take a test required by Colombia to see how well they're doing. Unfortunately, though, not all the teachers in the public schools are equipped to actually teach Spanish, so not everyone actually does very well with their English. As for the healthcare system, there's public and private. the public is based off of a like cosmic composition where you're broken into different groups depending on according to your salary, how much you make. You can either be in group A, B, or C, and depending on how much you make or not, it depends on how much you have to pay towards the process, so that it can be equally distributed amongst everyone getting the same kind of care. And the reason why private kind of still healthcare really exists is that sometimes the public hospitals and all that take a while because they're really backed up, and so if you have private healthcare, you can typically get in and get seen sooner. And then lastly, kind of the famous people from Colombia. Colombia's big on soccer, so they have some of their biggest famous people are soccer athletes like Radamel Falcao. And then as for what kind of stuff they watch, their shows, mostly the news and the Vonatellas, which most Americans think are super dramatic, which they are dramas, but they're not always to the extent we put them to. And they have other regular stuff like cooking shows and athletic competitions. And then probably the most famous person, a Colombian we can probably think of, is Shakira, who's a singer and actress. And yeah, those are just kind of some of the famous people in the overview of Colombian history.
Hola, buenos dias, me llamo Sarah. That was Spanish for hello, good morning, my name is Sarah. The main language of Colombia is Spanish. They also have many different tribal dialects, but the main one that they speak is Spanish, and a lot of them also speak English. Another thing I'm going to talk about is clothing. Usually they wear clothes very similar to us. However, they usually are more dressed up than us, so they would usually wear like a blouse or a sweater and some nice pants or jeans instead of like a t-shirt or sweatpants of what we kind of wear. Next thing I'm going to talk about is food. Breakfast and lunch are usually the bigger meals of the day. Lunch is usually like the biggest one, and they usually have like all kinds of different food. A thing they eat very often are tamales, but they are not like American tamales. They are very big, like the size of a burrito. They also eat lots of fruit and vegetables because they are very cheap over there compared to the prices of them in America. Dinner is a much smaller meal, and it's usually served like later in the evening, like around 8 o'clock. It's usually leftovers or a sandwich instead of the larger meals, which we get in America. They also have different fruit juices with every meal. So, like orange juice is specifically breakfast fruit juice, but they have different ones for different meal times, and you can only have them at those meal times. So that's something that I'm doing. I'm also going to talk about cultural taboos. So one thing is you do not point your finger at people. That is considered very, very rude. Do not do that ever. It is also taboo, like if you are explaining the height of a child, like I would normally do this, that's very taboo because if you hold your hand horizontally, that is how you would measure the height of an animal. So you hold your hand vertically if you want to measure the height of a child. Otherwise, it's considered very rude. In the country, you're expected to be like late, like close to 4 hours. Like if you were told to be there at 2, you would want to get there at 6. However, in the city, people are much more punctual and on time. It's also taboo to wear shorts. The people that live there really don't wear shorts around and outside, and they will for sure know that you are a tourist.
So the primary language that the Colombian people speak is Spanish, Colombian Spanish, but there are many different tribal dialects and accents that you can encounter throughout the country of Colombia. For example, one accent is a city accent, and that is what Isabella, whom we interviewed, speaks. And this is a more neutral accent, one that's more common, easier to understand, maybe. And but closer to the coast, people might roll up their R's like a country accent. So as in America, we have kind of a southern country accent at times. Closer to the coast in Colombia, people might roll up their R's to make that sound different. But also as you go through the farms and the smaller towns that are not in the city, you might encounter different experience and dialects and accents of Spanish. For the historical overview of the Colombian people, Colombia began as a Spanish settlement. People from Spain came over and they brought slaves with them, and they implemented their values on those slaves and on the indigenous people that were already in Colombia. And they created a hierarchy, and Obviously the Spanish people were on top, and then those born of Spanish descent on Colombian soil were more in the middle towards the lower end, and then slaves and natives were on the bottom. And so the slaves and the natives and the Spanish people that were of Spanish descent born on Colombian soil came together, and they fought an important war in 1810, but the official independence wasn't gained until 1819. And from there, it didn't begin immediately, but over time things began to change, and people that were viewed on more the lower tier were subtly grafted into society. And after a while, people began to be more classified by their geographical residence and social class rather than strictly their skin color. So that was a really good thing. But unfortunately, throughout the history of Colombia, they've been plagued by some different issues as they try to run government. Normally, they face issues of violence that can come from drug trafficking, small arms trafficking, different political instabilities that they face. So there's some unfortunate things that this people group, they have to just deal with in life over there as they try and navigate.
Is it called the healthcare system? Yeah, it is the healthcare system. Okay.
Bogota? Is that how you pronounce it? Bogota or Bogota?
Like I'm just smiling. I'm just in my armpit. I'm just smiling. Okay.
Take two.
Take two. Action. Yeah.
You've been going.
For the blooper reel.